Testing, testing. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Is this going in and out? Is that? Can you all hear me? Okay. Welcome to the Economic Club of Florida's 583rd meeting in our continuing series of Distinguished Speakers series. I am Katrina Roll, and I have the pleasure of being the club president this year. I hereby call this meeting to order. Please silence your cell phones so that our program is not interrupted. And now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So some of you already had an opportunity to meet Jessica Harvey, and I love that you're walking around trying to speak to everybody, so I'm sorry we didn't allow her to get to everybody over here. But we're in for a treat today with Jessica. She joined the Guy Harvey Foundation in 2017 and is currently the CEO of the foundation. Jim Murdoch will formally introduce her momentarily. In addition to today's speaker, we have scheduled great speakers for the rest of this year. On October 10th, Meredith Berger, Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Energy, Installations, and Environment, will be our luncheon speaker, and John Colin, CEO of Margaritaville Holdings, will be with us in November. So look for the emails and check our website for more details. Our Economic Club of Florida sponsors are a very important part of our club's success. Today we give a special thank you to Tallahassee State College. Jim, I'm finally getting used to saying State College, right? I would like to invite Dr. Jim Murdoch to come to the podium and speak briefly about TSC's initiatives. Jim?
Thank you very much, Katrina. And I'm getting used to calling it TSC. How about the rest of you? It's going to take a while for me. I've been at the college for 25 years, so it's going to take a little reprogramming for me. But thank you all for being here today. It's a real thrill for Tallahassee State College to have the opportunity to sponsor this today. We as an institution are growing like crazy and into all kinds of adventures. Our enrollment is bursting. Our new associate in science degrees are going crazy in the areas of STEM. Our Wakulla Environmental Institute, which I think is near and dear to our speaker today, is doing some remarkable things in Wakulla County in terms of our oyster aquaculture program and some of the small plot farming that we do down there to help people learn to do sustainable agriculture. The last time I counted, by the way, we had between our graduates and our current students, we have about 12 million oysters in the water right now. It's pretty awesome. We've helped over 150 people in Wakulla and surrounding counties create their own businesses and go on to make a living from doing that kind of work. So we have a real commitment to making sure that the intersection between the environmental work and the economic work we do is a strong one. So I'm, again, real proud to take just a minute to talk to you about Tallahassee State College. I always like to ask this question, but I have to ask it a little differently. How many of you came to TCC or sent somebody to TCC or worked at TCC or any other affiliation with TCC?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for doing that. I always encourage you to have more children. We're still accepting applications, and so anything you can do, we would greatly appreciate that. But again, Katrina, thank you for the opportunity to say a couple of words.
Thank you. Jim, you sound like my father-in-law. He kept saying, I want my kids to just keep having kids. I was like, no, Gary and I have 4. We've made our contributions to society. We're done. For those of you in attendance today, we have sponsorship opportunities for some of our, I guess we have 2 more meetings upcoming for this year and also next year. If you or your company would like to serve as a sponsor, please see me or any of our other board members, or also Lisette. She has information as well. I'd now like to really recognize and thank our trustee members. I feel like it's really loud now. Okay, our trustee members provide additional financial support to the club each year. In return, they receive exclusive benefits such as attending pre-luncheon receptions with our speakers and having an opportunity to speak with them in a small group setting like they did today with Jessica Harvey. Our trustee members are also invited to attend other local events which we host from time to time. If you are a trustee member, first of all, I'd like to thank you, and please stand to be recognized. Let's give them a round of applause. Lisette, do we have guests today? Yes. Okay, so I want to welcome each of you. That's right, Jenny Daly has some guests. Thank you for coming, and we're going to have everybody be introduced. Jenny, we'll start with your table since I called your name.
Thank you. My name is Jenny Daly. I'm an attorney here with Maurer Law Firm, and I am joined by my two partners, Louise St. Laurent and Jennifer Bean, one from our Tallahassee office and one from our Fort Lauderdale office.
Thank you. Anybody else at that table? No. Matt?
I'd like to introduce my son Josh, his wife Gabby. They have produced a documentary film called Unfiltered. The Guy Harvey Foundation is a proud sponsor.
Josh has also done a phenomenal job in producing videos for the United Way and the Community Foundation, so thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Lisette, do you have the mic that might be more helpful? That table there. This one, no. Anybody there? No? This one?
I brought a next table.
Okay.
Steve Roden is chairman of the Guy Harvey Foundation.
Oh, awesome. This table? Glenn, anybody at your table? Over here.
Hi everyone, Julia Holly here. I brought Bill Lixton, Director of the North Florida Innovation Labs.
Thank you. Anybody at the table, Kyle? No? Back there?
John Harris, I'd like to introduce you to my granddaughter, Haley Meadows. She's a sophomore at Chiles.
Oh, wow, welcome.
Hello, my name is Valerie Whitfull. I'm president of Avail Strategies, and my guests today are... Hi, good afternoon. I'm Erin Gillespie. I'm a technology consultant at Slalom, working with government agencies. Hi there, I'm Katie Parrish. I'm with Allegiant Strategies Group here in Tallahassee.
And I think the last table, everybody here? Ben, at your table, new? Visiting? No? All right, so did we miss anybody before we move on? Hey, Ida. Okay, thank you. Thank you again. I'd now like to introduce the head table. Far right, Daniel Petronio. Daniel is the Senior Vice President at Capital City Bank, where he leads the Specialty Banking Division. With 14 years at Capital City, Daniel oversees 4 key departments: commercial real estate, sales management, indirect auto finance sales, and institutional banking and treasury management. He holds both undergraduate and graduate degrees from Florida State University, and he has been a member of the Economic Club of Florida since 2019. Dr. Jim Murdoch. Jim has served as president of Tallahassee State College. He said for 25 years, right? You started in 2009?
President for 14.
Oh.
I've been
Oh.
at the college 20.
Oh, okay, since 2010 is when you started. Okay, that's what I had it wrong. where he strives to make the college a top destination for students, faculty, staff, and our community. A graduate of Florida State University, he holds bachelor's and master's degrees in criminology and a doctorate in public administration. Over the years, Jim has been recognized for his leadership, receiving honors like Florida Trans Florida 500 and multiple Lifetime Achievement Awards. He is active with the Florida Chamber of Commerce and Leadership Florida. Jim's impact extends well beyond education, including working with the Florida Technology Council. Jim is also a trustee and board member of the Economic Club of Florida. Trey Warren. A proud Tallahassee native, Trey is a financial advisor at First Franklin Financial Services, where he has spent nearly 12 years in roles ranging from portfolio manager to research analyst. He earned dual degrees in finance and marketing from Florida State University, followed by a master's of science in finance. Active in local nonprofit organizations, Trey currently serves on the board of the Tallahassee Museum. Blake Renfro. Blake is a director of business development at FSU's College of Business. He has a professional background in management consulting, advising industries like aerospace, defense, and healthcare. Blake's expertise in executive leadership has made him a trusted advisor to organizations in these sectors. An avid world traveler, Blake has backpacked across 50 countries and cycled through locations such as South Africa, the UAE, and the last stages of the Tour de France. He also serves on the Tallahassee-Leon County Planning Commission and holds various other volunteer roles in the community. Blake is a proud Eagle Scout and graduate of both the University of Tennessee and LSU. Let's give the head table a round of applause. And now I invite Dr. Tim Royal to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Katrina. Well, I must tell you, this is a real thrill. Those of you who had the opportunity to talk with Jessica briefly as she moved around the room can see just how natural it is for her to meet and greet and to be a part of this effort we have here today. So we're really thrilled to have her here. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Steve Roden for helping make this happen and getting Jessica here. And something you did wrong to Steve is he brought you here for a hurricane, but other than that, we really do appreciate you being here. So I want to characteristically, I don't like to read, but I do like to read when the content is so doggone important. And so I'm going to read some of this to you about Jessica Harvey. She has her bachelor's degree in zoology at the University of Edinburgh, and then served as a research officer in the Terrestrial Resources Unit of the Cayman Islands Department of Environment for 3.5 years. She assisted with the terrestrial wildlife population assessments, invasive species management, guidance notes, and educational and legislative initiatives. She also served as a member of the National Conservation Council, providing terrestrial and maritime expertise with a team whose responsibility is to promote the conservation and sustainable use of the Cayman's natural resources and biological diversity under the National Conservation Act. There's so much more I can tell you about her, but here's the one thing that I love the most. She joined and assisted many of Dr. Guy Harvey's fishing and diving expeditions around the world from as young as 5 years old. Was that 2 years ago? 2 out of 17 IGFA fishing world records still remain today from her early years as a competitive angler. She currently lives in the Grand Cayman with her rescue dog, Hallie, and equally loves traveling and meeting new people as much as spending time with family and friends at home. What a remarkably accomplished person we have before us today, and it's with a warm welcome that I'd like to invite you forward.
Thank you so much. I realize that's quite loud. Can everyone hear me if I keep it right here? Okay. Sorry, I can project. But thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here, and I first would like to say, especially with a storm coming in, I know what it takes to prepare, having lived in the Caribbean most of my life. And so I'm going to try and keep this as brief and concise as possible so that you guys can enjoy the rest of the afternoon before tomorrow. But I'd like to take an opportunity to thank our chairman, Steve Roden. He has been a mentor for me, especially having moved to Florida to really take on the role of running the foundation as a CEO. So thank you so much. And to Brian Rowland, who is also here in the room, has been helping with the foundation's efforts. So thank you, and it's great to see you. And thank you for all being so welcoming. Tallahassee has been wonderful to visit, brief, but I will be back. And so I am excited I didn't meet all of you today, but we're going to be here to stay. So if you have any questions following the presentation, we're here, but I hope that it gives you some insight as to what the foundation is, what we're trying to do, where it was inspired from, and how I am standing here before you today. So, next slide. So, as briefly mentioned, very different to the bio photo that you got in front of you, this is actually more my office. It's out on the open ocean. So I started working with the foundation in Cayman, but the headquarters of the foundation has always been based in Fort Lauderdale. And so I would work with a team of people to help support research, education, and advocacy supporting marine conservation. And we're going to briefly touch on specifics of that. Next slide. So just to give you a little background in terms of what being on an expedition looks like, this is my comfort zone. I don't know how many of you dive in the room, a couple of people. I don't know how many of you would be joining on this kind of an expedition, but one of the things, I see a few shaking heads, but that's also why I'm here, because there is a way we can coexist with wildlife that is helping support their conservation, and as well as supporting the economy that we all benefit from. So that is Dad on the left and myself on the right in Bimini, looking at tiger sharks. Some of the work that we have focused on is looking at tiger sharks and their massive migrations between the States and Bermuda. There's a documentary on it. I won't go into so much detail, but again, something that a lot of people have a lot of fear about, and so that's also what I try and showcase is there isn't anything to be feared. Let's change that fear into curiosity about our environment. Next slide. I unfortunately did not get the gene for art and painting. My stick figures are great, but ask me to do anything more and you might not get what you're looking for. But I love to film. I love being able to showcase what we're doing and trying to do, the amazing animals that are in the ocean. So this is actually Wes Merton helping with putting satellite tags on dolphin fish, a mahi-mahi. I don't know if anyone has seen a dolphin fish before or had the mahi sandwich. This is what it looks like. A beautiful animal, and we're learning more and more about it. And it actually, I won't be able to touch on it today, but there's been a lot of discussion about the overall conservation status of this species, which we'll allude to more later. So just to give you an idea of what I'll be talking about today, I was asked to be able to showcase a little bit about the brand, why it was, how it's successful, why it's successful. So we'll talk about a few factors that led to its success today, where it all began, the investment that we've made, and the investment that we need to make in the environment, and then how your partnership can help us amplify and help support the mission for ocean conservation. So, the success. The Guy Harvey brand was established in 1986. The reason that it is, actually hands up for all of those, I know a couple of people are familiar with Guy Harvey, but if you could put a hand up if you've seen him, met him, worn his shirt, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. part of his success is that the artwork is iconic. He started off with the inspiration from The Old Man and the Sea, and because he was a very visual person, he couldn't find an illustrated version of the story, and therefore set upon himself at the age of 16 to do pen and ink drawings of the story. Took him a year to do, and he, at the time, did not explore the watercolors or the acrylic. That came later, but he is a self-taught artist. And that is ultimately, if you search for anything Guy Harvey, The Old Man and the Sea's depiction that's depicted on the shirt is what you're most likely going to come across. He is authentic, so he makes an effort to accurately depict what you see out there. With a scientific mind, he has a PhD in fisheries management. He did a degree in Aberdeen University. And so his dedication to painting and depicting authentically what is out there is what helped make his art so iconic. The other thing is that it's very inspirational. And I don't know if any of you have seen any of the murals that he has done in Florida, but there are several of them. And this is actually the latest installation at King Middle School in Manatee County, which was it was a request through appropriations with Manatee County to have this installed at their school, and they've expanded that originally from Anna Maria Elementary School, which is now a collaborative Guy Harvey Arts and Science Academy. And so it's not just about art, but it's becoming symbols of hope, and a lot of schools are wanting to have that showcased in their schools as well. So we're honored for the enthusiasm to have this. To kind of highlight for those less familiar, and we were talking about it earlier because of the shirts in Jamaica, this is the lifestyle that the brand's able to speak to. Are people who enjoy being out in the water, enjoy interacting with wildlife out on the open ocean. How many of you would rather be, somewhere chilling outside versus in an office on a regular basis, right? That's right? Yeah, exactly. So that's what he speaks to because he lives it himself. And his art, thanks to the collaborations over the years, has been able to be placed on apparel and all sorts of different, as mentioned, t-shirts, belts, etc., to be able to showcase that lifestyle. But the other thing is that it's very hopeful, it's very uplifting, and because of that, more people want to be associated with the brand. So next slide. So it's branched out into people wanting Guy Harvey F-150s. So we had a licensing agreement with them. On the right is Norwegian Cruise Line wanting to feature Dad as the hull art, which they do on all of their ships. And it's not only become a feature of the art, but a billboard for conservation and support. You have things like Turbis, which is a well-regarded brand. You have Tag Heuer watches that wanted to feature his art on the face of the watch. All sorts of, it goes on to all sorts of different things, and my brother is the one that helps manage the licensing part of the business. So it's a joke between us in the beginning is that he makes the money and I spend it. But the main thing is that a part of the proceeds of everything Guy Harvey goes to support the Guy Harvey Foundation. And that's very, very important to us. Next slide. So we also have two Guy Harvey outposts, and we have a gallery in Cayman. I don't know if anyone has ever been to Cayman. If you haven't, yes. So if you haven't, it's a great place to stop, and Dad is often in there. So please, feel free. It has the largest collection of art and some great stories in there as well. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea of the market we're talking about, in Florida, there are over 52 million recreational anglers in Florida. and that brings in over $140 billion to the economy. That's no small niche market. It's a lot of what makes up Florida, and it employs thousands of people. Next slide. On top of that, in a separate study, you have the people who enjoy boating. So there are about 100 million Americans who go boating every year, and providing $230 billion approximately towards the economy. So that's part of the reason the brand has done so well, is because so many people want to be in the maritime industry. And I don't know if anyone has been to the Fort Lauderdale boat show, but it is the biggest in North America. So it's a significant attendance effort. Next slide. The other factor about the success is the fact that he is a person that actually exists. A lot of people think, maybe Tommy Bahama, because he doesn't exist, that maybe Guy Harvey doesn't exist. I can tell you he does exist. And he has made an effort to he loves meeting new people. He loves learning from people. He loves engaging in stories and storytelling. And so he'll often be doing signing sessions all over Florida to meet his fan base. So from a multi-generational impact, it's one of the few brands that you can actually have a teenager happy for a parent to wear the shirt, if you think about it. Not oftentimes that happens, but with Guy Harvey, it's okay. I remember as a kid because he predominantly started with men's shirts, and then one of the, I can't remember which university, but they started in one of the fraternities doing a Guy Harvey design, and their name was made out in the same font as his signature on the back of their shirts. I was like, since when are you popular with college kids? Who are you? But it has grown, and I've met kids who come up as young as 6 years old saying, Dr. Guy Harvey, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for what you do. I'm like, it's incredible the impact he has had on the community. Next slide. And he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks it. He spends the majority of his time, if he's not on the boat, if it's good weather, I guarantee that he's not going to be in the office when there's flat calm seas outside. But he really makes an effort to study the animal in its natural habitat, but also learn more about it to support its conservation. He is not, as he says, he's not a tree hugger. He likes to fish, he likes to eat fish, but there are ways in which we need to move as a society to support sustainable use of our resources, and that's what he's about. So that's him swimming with a blue marlin that has a satellite tag in it, and we've invested a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears to learn more about this iconic animal that helps support the industry that I was just mentioning from a recreational standpoint. Next slide. So to give an idea of how far back the investment in research goes, we started a relationship with Nova Southeastern University in Florida in 1999, and that was to help support research efforts on pelagic species, as I mentioned, shark research, billfish research, and it goes beyond. I noticed that there was some mention of criminology studies in the room. Dr. Mahmood Shivji is the director of the Guy Harvey Research Institute based at Nova Southeastern University. And he's an ecologist but also a geneticist. And he has helped with complicated studies on fish ID, because there's a lot of fish fraud that takes place in the States, unfortunately. Endangered species. His group was one of the first to account for the number of shark fins that are caught to support the shark fin trade, which is upwards of 73 million at the time, and probably harder to find now because of social media and how secretive it's become. Another story that is fascinating, happy to share another time, but it is the amount of work that the Guy Harvey Research Institute has done is tremendous. And to this date, we have 176 scientific, peer-reviewed, published papers that support these scientific discoveries aiding conservation efforts. And very few places have been able to do that. So it's a team effort, and Dr. Mahmood Shivji and his team have done a phenomenal job. So we have the Guy Harvey Oceanographic Center, and where the Research Institute is based. And the idea is that how the foundation started was that some of the funding took a longer time to be able to help support some of the projects. So we set that up to be able to help fast track some of the funding efforts. So it was predominantly helping the research we were supporting there. And so if you ever are in town, feel free to let us know. We'd love to show you around. But it is a lot of amazing research is coming out of here. And this passion started at a very young age. I was saying to somebody earlier, I don't know, I think it was Harvey earlier, I was saying, I don't think I could find a person more passionate about being on the ocean than my father. And it starts at a very young age. And when you think about who your biggest influences are in your life, your first teacher likely, your parents, your family members, siblings, it starts from an early age. Next slide. And so that's the investment that he made in us as a family. Coming from a time where he was trading pieces of art for lunch to making an effort to take us on some of these incredible trips, he's come a long way. And we are so privileged and lucky to have had that experience growing up. You take it for granted as a kid because you don't appreciate what is involved, but as an adult, he is one of the biggest inspirations in my life. And I hope that with the nieces that I have coming, that I will be as inspirational to them as to the rest of the community from the foundation's perspective. Sometimes we had to correct him on his art. And, just a few little tweaks here and there, but this is my younger brother who, as I mentioned, the director of marketing and licensing for Guy Harvey Inc. Imagine coming back into his studio and him showcasing this incredible predator-prey interaction and telling us about the expedition and about what he saw, the people he met. It was an incredible way to learn. Next slide, please. And as a result of that, he always incorporated in his purpose of trying to be better is the fact that we are trying to support a sustainable world. So the Guy Harvey brand makes an effort, this is one out of the many different things we try and work with, to be as sustainable as we can. We're not perfect, but we're making an active effort to practice what we preach. Next slide. So one of the things that have helped us in terms of also the success of the brand is that we're working with Interdeco, who have prioritized working with renewable energies, being an ambassador in their community, from everything to sustainable sources of materials to recycling the water used in the dyeing process of the fabrics so that it's not taking any added water from the community. They're doing that proactively, and we are grateful to be able to partner with them. Next slide. So just going back a little bit in terms of the classroom, this is an example and one of my favorite pieces that he has ever done. He paints every day. Even when he's talking on the phone, it's the way he thinks. Ironically, he failed art and science in school. And so I'm sure, we came across in some of his older documents a report card from a French class saying how he needed to pull up his socks in class if he was ever going to pass French, and he needs to stop drawing Spitfires in class and all sorts of things. But art and science for us always went hand in hand. But growing up in school, it was always separated. And when you think about how we need creative solutions to solve complex problems, creativity is the heart of that. And that's what we're hoping to showcase through efforts with Guy Harvey Foundation and our partners to help bridge that gap so that it's not considered a secondary part of it. If you think about the design of a building, the design of a drug, the design of a stadium, it all requires some level of art. And one of the things that is great is that you're not bound by language when you look at art. And the authenticity that he brings into his art, you can talk about all sorts of different things. So for example, this is a blue marlin. We can talk about the differences between a blue and a black marlin just from his paintings. What is this blue marlin trying to do? Well, we notice that there is a school of dolphin fish at the surface. What are the dolphin fish doing? They are trying to school together so that it's harder for the marlin to pick one individual off. Wow, that's interesting. And as you see the changes in color, we talk about there's behavioral patterns there that are exhibited. The dorsal fin is up, he is active, and how we are able to film this, how he was able to see this, and then you can switch in mid-conversation to talking about, well, where do you start in this kind of art? How do you start from the back and come to the front? Yes, and this is how you do it, and it's a lot of people have gravitated toward this kind of conversation. Don't judge us on this, but if you go onto Facebook Live for the Guy Harvey side, during COVID, when we couldn't travel, we were stuck. We had one of the strictest lockdowns in the world in Cayman, and decided to try ourselves at Facebook Live. And we weren't really that tech savvy at the time. So if you see the beginning of our Facebook Lives, don't judge us. But it was quite fun. It's like, are we on? It's like vertical. It's like, I don't know. Is this? But Dad and I took time every day during the height of COVID to touch base with the communities around the world that have been big fans of Dad or wanting to learn more about marine conservation, marine science, art, etc., the business. And we interacted with the people, and we talked on our expeditions, how to paint. Literally, you can find out the exact name of the paint brushes, anything. It has been an amazing resource that people gravitate to because they love art as well as knowledge. Next slide. So this is our mission as a foundation. We collaborate with local and international organizations to conduct scientific research and host educational programs aimed at better understanding and conserving our environment. It's a big part of who we are, and one of my goals is to really expand that. Florida is a big key to our success. It is setting an example for not just the states, but for the rest of the world, the rest of the region. And so we want to make sure that it is as strong as possible here so that when we expand some of our programs in other places, it is still looked in Florida as the iconic marker for our expansion. So here's a few stats. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. Am I all right on time, or am I?
About another 5, we can take some questions.
Okay, perfect. So I'll zip through this bit. You saw some of this before, and so we can skip to the next slide. Some of our partners that we work with is Discovery Education. They have about 650 channels, and we are normally in the top 10, I believe, Steve? Yeah? So that's a big deal in terms of content and engagement. Next slide. This has been updated since, I think, but we recognize that especially during COVID, and it was Steve's amazing insight in terms of virtual learning that helped us. So as you can imagine, we were all about physical training or trying to showcase things through documentaries and experience. But the way we were able to reach more people faster is being able to offer educational resources online. And so just prior to COVID, that's when it took off, really, because everyone was on lockdown and everyone was demanding resources that they weren't trained or had access to. And so we've made an effort to support that. But the other problem we came across was that teachers there's a lot of burnout with teachers. It was a very challenging time. Teachers who were often trained on one subject had to try and teach science, which they'd never been trained to before. And so we try to, through our programs, be able to support teachers with the educational material that we create. And so we launched it in March this year. We were supposed to be scheduled, which is the other reason I was here, to do something with the Gulf Specimens Marine Lab, and the team was going to be up there to teach over 80 teachers that were coming in. That's changed now, but it's been, the feedback that we've received has been phenomenal, and we try and do this all for free with help through sponsorships. And so we have field trip grants, we have stipends that we help with for teachers, and we have an amazing group of people and partners that have helped us start this effort, and we want to be able to do more of it and bring it to all 67 counties in Florida. So this is some of the excitement. One of the things that we do is provide the hands-on experiences with partners. So as Trey and I went yesterday to see the Tallahassee Museum, which was a lot of fun. That's one of the things we do. We try to work with local groups to be able to provide those experiences and provide an opportunity for teachers to not be field trip shy. We want to get them kids salty, and we want to get them to a point where they have the confidence to want to take their kids out on field trips. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of stumbling blocks that they have to go through in order to make that happen. And so by having the conservation education program support with a partner on the ground, they're able to do a test run, so to speak, with these partners. And some of these teachers have never gone kayaking before. Some have never, we do art and science in it, so they do different activities they've never experienced, and they send us feedback all the time of all the different materials that they have brought back into the classroom through the help of teacher treasure chests that we also provide. And it's so rewarding. I can't tell you how, and my team works so hard to put this together. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the support in Florida has been phenomenal. This is an example of the mural setup that was done at Anna Maria Elementary. So one of their classrooms is a connectivity scene from the mangroves all the way out to the open ocean. So it's a classroom opportunity on their walls, and they are using all their teachers are trained, and they're using our educational curriculum and resources in their classroom. There was another school that reached out to us and said, we would like to change our educational offering to be able to be focused on the Guy Harvey resources, which is an honor. So it's so uplifting, and we need hope. There's so much going on at the moment, and I'm so glad the team from Unfiltered is here, because it's all part of it. We're all connected to the waters, and we have a responsibility to help conservation efforts all over. Next slide. So one of the things that we've created as well, so if you know teachers, to showcase, we've created a catalog that's so easy for them to see. They can click on the links and easily download the information that we have. We have a lot of material, and a lot of different partners have helped us out with this. So GuyHarveyFoundation.org is where you can see this. Next slide. And so the question that people often ask is, how can you help? The fact that you're here means the world. It means you care, and it means that you want to learn more, and I want to learn from you in terms of how we can grow these programs in faster capacity. Next slide. Because the main thing is that this is a Floridian scene. We want our communities to be able to say, if you went out there right now, you would be able to see manatees and snook and healthy mangroves and pelicans and all these different things. I don't want this scene to be a historic reminder of what we used to have. This is what we're working towards helping support, and every single business has a responsibility to help us with that. Next slide. And it's even more, you talk about everyone encouraging to have kids. It's serious. They are young, they have a lot, they're trying to figure out their own lives, much less have the responsibility of trying to figure out how we're going to change and move towards a sustainable future. So I'm committed and we are committed as a family, as a foundation, as a brand towards helping that effort. And because we want to be able to say, when Harper is older, look at all the programs that help support sustainability. Look at what FSU is able to do, and all these other different schools. And we have cleaner waters now. You can see healthy reefs and healthy oyster ranches and all sorts of different things. And that's, she's painting and having an opportunity to learn from Dad as well, the same way I did. And it's very special. So we have our work cut out for us, and I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor to be here. Next slide. And so I will do, whether it's out in the field or in the classroom or here or anywhere, to be able to share awareness of how people can participate, what we're trying to make a difference on, how businesses can participate and support, whether financially, volunteering, etc. But we can do this. We have a role here, and there are so many people who have helped us out in the room in various different ways, and we're so grateful. And so it means that we have a lot more fun to look forward to. Next slide. So if you haven't seen this already, this is a wonderful way to help support the foundation. I don't know, does anyone have a Guy Harvey specialty license plate? Great! I see all of you going to renew your license plate. So when you look out, that game Punch Buggy? So Punch Buggy is a game. Every time you saw a Volkswagen Beetle, you'd go Punch Buggy. Sometimes, depending on the sibling, it got harder or softer. Not encouraging violence here, people, but if it's a fun game. When you now know what this specialty license plate looks like, you'll see it more and more often. But the hope is that if we increase even the amount of these out supporting the foundation, because a part of the proceeds benefits the foundation, it helps support all the efforts that I touched on. And I didn't even go into the research side of it so much today, because that's a long conversation too, fun. But we really appreciate your support. And thank you so much for having me, and I'm here for any questions.
I wanted to ask you, can you tell us, when we met with you, you were talking about how you learned about the fishing competition that you in the backyard?
Oh, yes.
And is your dad in control?
Yeah. So the question was asking how we would prepare for fishing tournaments. So, okay, I'm going to have to demonstrate this. So the question was, when you're preparing to compete for fishing tournaments, how would you get ready? Because you can't, if you're going to qualify for a world record, you can't have anyone assist you. You have to be able to do it on your own. And so when you're doing it from such a young age as 5 and up, you're going to have to practice ahead of time. Because it's an investment to get to these places. To get to Panama, it's 2 days to get there. And so Dad is not going to waste his time or money not being prepared.
right? Prior planning prevents poor performance. So here's what it looked like. We're 45 minutes away, and so you'll set up in a fighting chair with a rod facing out, and Dad is over here holding the end of the line. So we are set up, we've got the drag down. For those who are familiar, it's when you have less pressure on the line for it to run out. And he's painting the picture. It's like a beautiful day out on the water. You've got frigate birds in the area, which is part of understanding, what to look for on the water in terms of signs. So you're learning all the time. And then all of a sudden he'll say, "Mind my go, 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 go!" And we'll have to let the line out. And then we'll be practicing that technique of fishing and bring him back in. And he'll say, "Yeah, it's jumping, it's going like this," literally going like this, and the dogs are all falling right behind him, wondering what the hell is going on. I was like, there's no treat, there's no stick, I don't understand. So then I'm like, oh man, this is tough. It's like, no, don't use your back or your arms. You're using the whole body. There's a whole technique so that, because some of these fights, they can be 5 minutes, they can be nearly, we had a swordfish in Mexico that weighed 650 pounds, and it took me nearly 3 hours to bring it in. And I could not pick up a bottle of water afterwards. I was exhausted. But it was the training that I had that allowed me to bring that fish in. And so he would come back, and I'm bringing it, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's near the boat." And he's like, "Oh, he sees the boat, and we're going out again." And we would be training for hours. And fish fight differently, depending on what it is. So a marlin, you'll see them like electric across the water. They are like allergic to the water almost. And then a tuna, which is pain in the bum for me, because they don't jump. And they give you this false hope, because they go out and you're reeling it in, and you're like, yes, 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 come back, and then they go out again in this big circle. And so it was excitement at home, but it also made sense when we were out there. We knew exactly what to do. And I didn't realize that he'd also learned that way. His latest book called 10,000 Chicken Sandwiches has all sorts of different sketches of what he learned. I won't tell you why it's called 10,000 Chicken Sandwiches. You have to read it to find out. But there's a picture of a bulldog that they used to be the fish that they could never bring in. But it's funny how it transpired, so that's it. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Glenn?
Thank you so much for coming. You were just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to know, I assume there is an impact on the marine life of the warming of the water.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the major impact is on marine species when you go out? Are you seeing something different than you saw 10 years ago?
That's a great question. So in terms of changing of the warming of the seas, that is something that we will see over time. And a lot of different industries are seeing how migration patterns are shifting based on the fact that seas are getting warmer. And so some of these animals that we tag or help assist with different researchers, such as the whale shark and other shark species that are what considered cosmopolitan species, their range is vast. And the investment is that if we keep tagging them and being able to showcase where they're going, we will then have a much clearer idea of how their migration patterns are changing. There's bluefin tuna that has been seen in Florida for the first time in a long time. There's all sorts of different aspects, and so yes, we are seeing changes. One of the other things that we're also noticing off the coast of the Eastern Tropical Pacific, there is a oxygen minimum zone, that is so shallow. It's about 100 feet. And so everything, all the big game fish are then pushed to the top surface of the water, which is what makes it so productive and exciting to fish there. We don't know what warming temperatures is going to do with that narrow band of habitat. We call it habitat compression. And so we're likely to see a lot of changes. But one of the things, as I mentioned with the dolphin fish, is that there's a lot of overfishing taking place. And so animals that they used to see at 60 pounds or more, for example, the dolphin fish, they're now seeing something like this. And the animals need to be big enough to be able to produce a lot of eggs to then support a big population. And so if we keep taking them off too early, it's not going to help support their growth. So there's a long answer, but we are seeing definite changes.
We have one more. Sorry. Sorry.
Steve, Jessica, I'm going to go out on a limb here a little bit. I've had the opportunity in the last 3 or 4 years to develop, host probably 5 or 6 expeditions with the Guy Harvey organization down in Panama. And basically, I'm just going to propose that maybe the Economics Club contemplate, if we were able to secure 20 people, that Steve and myself and Jessica have worked out, that we would go down there, be with Jessica for 4 or 5 days, and I would call this the Augusta for golfers. This is the Augusta for fishermen and tropic starlight. And, you know, the age groups are from father-son, father-daughter, all the way up to people that are needing help to get out on the dock to get into the boat. There's no age limit. Having that opportunity to catch one of those fish and release one of those fish, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and it would certainly do a long way in helping the foundation. So if you are at all interested, you'll know how to get in touch with me.
Thank you.
Sign me up.
Woo! All right.
Could you talk a little bit about the financials? You said your brother makes money, you spend the money, but
Yes.
how much money are we talking about?
Bill is a banker.
Yes, fair enough. Steve, actually, would you like to answer this question? As Steve works on both sides to help support us.
I'm probably allowed, but yeah, I sort of work on both sides of the house. So at retail, the Guy Harvey operation is ranging anywhere from 20 to 60 million, you know, in sales of the shirt business. But a small percentage of that goes to support Jessica and the foundation. We raise about $3 to $3.5 million a year from donors like Florida Power and Light, SeaWorld, license plates, lotteries, etc. We'll bump up closer to $4 million when we get a lottery ticket. And I'm not encouraging gambling, but it helps. And then all of that money basically gets flushed through. So we give it away. We spend it on research, we spend it on education. And the actual numbers of teachers now that we've reached is actually approaching 3,000. So it's not the number that was on the board.
Yeah.
You know, the reach is quite extensive. But that answers your question about economic size.
Well, do we have the base? Do we have the base? Do we have the base? Okay. Can I do that one?
We do have a gift for you, but it's not here.
Oh, that's very kind.
Lisette is mortified, but that's okay.
No, it's all good. The gift really is being here, you know? Like, I appreciate that.
It's okay, Lisette. But I hope you guys saw her passion when I asked her the question. I did not know she was going to do that, but this is a passion that we saw in you when we were talking to you, and we hope that you all saw that as well. This has been amazing. So thank you for taking the time and also visiting the Tallahassee Museum, and I think you did FSU?
We were planning to, and on the end of the week, so I will be back. I will be back.
We will be happy to have you back. So thank you so much, and we'll value your gift.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So
Our next meeting is October 10th at Capital City Country Club. This meeting is adjourned and it said it really is okay. Thank you, guys.